So here we are to talk about anxiety, speaker anxiety, and I'm sure none of us have ever been anxious before, so it's probably not a big deal, but we're going to go through it anyway. Starting with this crappy thing that doesn't want to turn. There we go. Public speaking anxiety, I think we all have. I do public speaking a lot, and whenever I get up to do a public speech or talk in front of a group, my hands get cold. No shaking, no nerves, but my hands get really cold, and I'm not sure why, if it's a physical thing, but we all have some type of anxiety or nerves that happen to us. Physical symptoms, I've never seen anybody lose their lunch or their bodily fluids while they went up to give a speech in front of my class, but I know there's been some upset stomachs and some real sweating and things like that. So everybody's always been able to keep it in check. It's going to be a lot different as you do your speeches from your house. The second thing here, communication apprehension, is an anxiety like a social anxiety. If either it's in front of a group or maybe with just another person, sometimes we're not comfortable or shy and it's hard to get things out. I think we've all been socially anxious at times, depending on the situation where we're at and who we're talking to. Talk about that, some of the triggers that start this. If we are in a social situation, maybe it's some people that we don't know, or they're involved in some behaviors that we really don't appreciate, and we have to still deal with them. This last summer, I was working construction because I don't teach in the summer and I like money. And I was around a bunch of guys that like to drop the F-bomb, went drinking after work and things like that. I just really didn't feel comfortable with them. At the beginning, I was a bit anxious and tried to avoid those situations, but as I got used to them, I knew they were pretty good guys and I could intermingle with them, but I still kept my distance just because of those different cultures. Anyway, I did draw attention from them because I was the outsider, I was different, but gratefully I still had their respect and everything was good with that. So this keeps going even with public speaking addresses. You're afraid of what other people will think about you, what they think you're wearing, how you speak, what you're talking about. So a lot of these things can trigger us that we worry about it. And I really didn't want to mention them because I didn't want you to start worrying about something that's not going to be a big deal. A couple ways you can get over that anxiety. This comes straight from the textbook, so obviously some of it's a bunch of crap, and I'll identify that crap. I don't know how to embrace your anxiety, the very first one. If anybody wants to shoot me an email or something of that text or something of that sort and tell me how to embrace your anxiety, please do. About the only way I could figure out how to embrace your anxiety is by desensitizing yourself, which means take a bunch of Prozac or something, or some type of smoke some legalized marijuana, because I just don't see how to get rid of the anxiety or desensitize yourself to the situation. One point about desensitization, though, is by slowly easing yourself in. We're going to do a short little speech before we give our long 6 to 8 minute speech, just to kind of get used to the technology, what to say and things like that. Desensitize yourself to the situation, getting your toe warm before you jump in the bath. Doing visualization exercise really work. I've read a lot of scientific studies where people that visualize taking shots with a basketball and those people that practice for the same amount of time every day, the people that only visualized improved their average rate of making a shot as much as those that actually practiced. Visualization really, really works. So taking care of yourself, I think, helps with a lot of those anxious nerve syndromes. Not like getting your hands cold, but if you're healthy and you're rested, you're going to be up there and feel a lot more confident when you give your speech. Depending on what you ate, how tired you are, really makes a difference. The biggest two here are being prepared and rehearsing your delivery. If you've written a good speech, if you know you have your transitions, a good introduction, and a good conclusion, you're going to feel confident. If you stand before somebody or stand before a camera and you're trying to pull stuff out of your head, make stuff up on the fly, even though some people are pretty good at BSing, it just doesn't work as well. Being prepared. The second thing I would suggest is rehearsing, and then rehearsing some more. If you haven't read through your complete speech at least 5 to 6 times, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to get a bit of anxiety because you don't know what's coming next. True, while you're giving your speech, you're going to have some notes. You're going to have some flashcards, something like that. But not knowing what's coming next is going to make you fumble, give you some nerves as you're flipping through flashcards. You need to rehearse. It's even better if you rehearse this in front of a mirror. Watch yourself. See if you have nervous tics. See if you keep playing with your hair or licking your lips or something like that. Rehearsing your delivery is huge. Challenge yourself. I think all of us use that to some extent or another, trying to get better, beat our personal best times. But that's, I think, a very individual thing, if that would work for you or if it wouldn't work for you. Now, this makes a big deal. As you look at your audience, it's going to really make you feel comfortable. In this situation, you're not going up in front of a bunch of your professors or your different teachers and stuff, people that are socially ranked higher than you. I don't think that way. I think we're all pretty much the same. I know what I know, you know what you know. But sometimes we get this expectation of we're talking to people that are above us, and it makes us anxious. If you think about your speaking situation and where you're going to be, it could really calm your nerves. Cultural expectations, culture meaning people that are involved in the same events, the same situations, the same scenarios, different than ethnicity, but your cultural expectations are here. The culture of our class are college freshmen who have minimal speaking experience. They're not going to judge you against President Obama or President Trump, pick your poison, right? About their speaking ability compared to ours. You're really going to get cut a lot of slack. And people are going to know that we're all rookies here, and the expectations aren't going to be what you see on TV. This is huge too, the knowledge of the speaker. Realistically, you're going to give an informative speech, and what you're going to inform us on is something that you know and that you know well. It could be anything from skateboarding to fantasy novels, the authors of them and things like that, to making your own beer, which I've heard a couple times, interesting, but it's kind of getting old, to something political, which also could get old. But you're going to inform us of maybe what you do for a profession or some great phenomenon that happens, the winter solstice or the northern lights, or a person. Hearing a speech about Donald Trump would be cool, maybe. Anyway, also when you analyze your audience, you're looking at the time of day. If this was a face-to-face speech and you're talking to a class that just got off of work and it starts at 7 o'clock and it's a Friday night, it's going to be really hard to keep them engaged. The time of day that you speak is huge. Whenever I give a class that's first thing in the morning, it's hard for the students to get into it and enjoy the lectures. But mid-afternoons are pretty good, or early evenings. So just think about the time of the day before you build your speech and while you're delivering your speech. Demographics is also huge. We talked about before, are you talking to people that are knowledgeable, your bosses, maybe your supervisors, or is it somebody that is more your age group that can handle things? The speech that we saw where the young lady was talking about love started with a song lyrics that you all knew and understood from watching your reports that you turned in. I have no idea of it. So as you look at the people's ages and so forth, you'll know who you're talking to. You'll be able to tailor your speech to it. But more importantly, you'll know that you are comfortable in front of them. You all have a lot of the sameness, and it could let that edge go. The demographics of your audience. This is really cool to avoid stereotyping. If you put expectations on your audience that aren't there, it's going to only increase your anxiety. Remember, in our classroom, you're going to be speaking to your same group that you do discussion board with. You'll get to know them. You'll see who's really into the class and who's a little bit more casual. And this audience is going to be the same thing as you. The demographics will be the same. So don't stereotype somebody that they're way above you or way below you. Just do what you do good and you'll feel real comfortable. The psychological qualities, values, lifestyles, and behaviors. What I really want to look at here is talking about values. You really don't want to talk about abortion or gun rights. Things that are real value oriented. You don't want to talk about religion because a lot of times people are religious or not, and it could stir up a whole lot of icky stuff. People either tune out right away or they can get aggressive. So as you talk about the psychological thought process, you really want to stay away from controversy here. I'm cool if you speak at church and talk about your beliefs, and I'm way okay if you talk about your political rallies and talk about what you believe with a group of like-minded individuals. But here we have a very neutral audience. Talking about your job, talking about your sports hobbies, or talking about some phenomenon we're all familiar with would be a lot better than talking about 25 reasons Trump is a good president. I use Trump because he's a lot of material, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody that really likes Trump. I think he's a pretty decent guy myself. Not my favorite, but a pretty decent guy. As you look at your audience response, that's going to help you feel calmer, feel more relaxed when you give your speech. Your audience's motivation, the people in your group, is going to be for points. They're going to critique your speech, write an outline, just like you did for this other speech, and you'll know that they're going to be interested and give you correct feedback. Nothing harsh, but just feedback. See how you did. You're all going to have common ground. You all want a good grade. You all have the same time to prepare for your speech, and you all have the same great resource, me, to help you out with it. If you look at your prior exposure to this group, you got it through your discussion boards, your prior exposure to speaking, those things are going to help you calm down and know what you have. Observations in your discussion post, building relationships by giving the common courtesy to reply to other people's posts. As you research the internet and you look at other things and other information, it's also going to help you. That really didn't tie in, but let's keep going. Ooh, that's it. That was quick and easy. Only 12 minutes. As we go forward, if there's something else that I can do, or you're feeling really anxious about this, I've got a couple ideas and options. But when you do give your speech, it's going to be in a comfortable spot where you're going to tape yourself. You'll use your phone just like I use my Samsung. Take a video of yourself speaking for 6 minutes and then post it to YouTube. Then you'll give us a link or give a link to your group so they can watch that speech. Really low key, you'll be in a place where you're comfortable and things won't be a big deal, I don't think. So whenever you do that, you're just going to have fun with it. You're going to be speaking about something you know, and we'll go over that a couple times. Just in closing, I wanted to talk about my office here. You probably didn't know, but I teach English online to non-native English speakers, and they're pretty young. So I have minions in the background. Minion, I'm trying to point it otherwise, Minion, a lot of them are from China, so that's why I'm doing this. So if you look at me and say, you're a college instructor and you got this, well, yeah, I'm a college instructor, yeah, I got this stuff, but cool to me. It works. So if you have any questions, as always, let me know. I'd love to help. Whatever we have to do, email, texting, phone calls, I'm up for grabs. My schedule is pretty flexible and we can make this happen. So get over your anxiety, and if you need some more tricks or tips, just let me know. Thanks.